Okay, the B4 lesson is talking about equations that have variables on both sides. What this says is when an equation contains parentheses or grouping symbols, you have to do the distributive property first in order to remove those grouping symbols. You want to use addition and subtraction property of equality to write an equivalent equation that has all the variables on one side. So essentially what this is saying is you've got to move all the x's or y's or z's or whatever variable it is to one side. Here's an example, and this one has all the steps on here. I wanted everyone to be able to go back to one. So here we have the 4 on the outside. We have to distribute it, which would be 4 times 2a minus 4 times 1 equals, now we have to distribute this negative 10, so negative 10 times a minus negative 10 times 5. When we simplify that, we get 8a minus 4 equals negative 10a minus negative 50. Well, remember, I always say in class, when you see minus a negative, go ahead and keep it, change it, flip it, so it would be negative 10a plus 50. It really doesn't matter which term you start with, but what I like to do is like to get rid of my negative numbers. So if you see here, I've got a negative 10a. If I undo that, I would add 10a to each side, and now I've got some positive 18a's because I could combine these two together. Minus 4 equals 50. Well, now I've got to get these 18a's by themselves, so I'm going to add 4 to each side, which leaves me with 18a equals 54. Last step is to divide by 18, and a equals 3. Just like before, you can go back, check to see that your answer works. So 4 times 2 times 3 minus 1 equals negative 10 times 3 minus 5. So this would be 4 times 6 minus 1 is 5 equals negative 10 times negative 2. 4 times 5 is 20. A negative times a negative is a positive, and 10 times 2 is 20, so it works out. Moving on to the next example, we want to get everything that we can onto one side. So you want to look to see which side has ends all by themselves. This side has ends. This side has ends, but it also has numbers. This side just has ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 3n from each side to bring all of my ends to the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side, I'm left with negative 3. On the right-hand side, I'm left with negative 1n. We'll divide by negative 1, and in this case, n equals 3. Problem 2. First, I want to see if there's anything that I can combine. If something is on the same side of the equal sign, then you can already combine them. So these two right here, negative 2n plus 2n, that's 0. So I'm just going to be left with 1 equals negative 4n minus 3. Remember, we want to get the n's by themselves, so we're going to add 3 to each side. We get 4 equals negative 4n. Divide by negative 4, and n equals negative 1. This side, on the left-hand side, there's nothing that we can combine right away, but on the right-hand side there is. Negative 4x plus 1x is negative 3x. I'm going to bring over the rest. Now I want all my x's on the same side, so in order to get them on the same side, I'm going to add 6 x's to each side. Get negative 12 equals a positive 3x. Divide by 3, and x equals negative 4. Here, as of right now, there's nothing we can combine here, there's nothing we can combine here, so I'm going to work to get my x's all on the same side. I'm going to start by moving these minus 5x's because I don't like to deal with negative numbers, so if I do that, I'm left with 5 equals 5 plus 7x. We'll have to subtract 5 from each side. So we're left with 0 equals 7x. We divide by 7, and x equals 0. This next one, we have to go ahead and combine our like terms. If you notice on this side, there's stuff that we can combine together. I'm going to do 4.9 minus 3.7, which is going to give me 1.2. It's going to be a negative 1.2m because there are more negatives than positives, equals 0.6. Divide by negative 1.2. And negative 1/2 is equal to m. When you do that division, that's the answer that you come up with. The next one, we are going to combine our like terms, so we're going to have to combine these two together. We've got 5.057 that has to combine with 4.5, which is going to give us negative 9.557 equaling negative 11.4684. Oh, I forgot my n over here. Divide by negative 9.557. Divide by negative 9.557. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. And when I do my division, I've got to divide negative 11.4684 divided by 11.4684 divided by 9.557, and I get a positive 1.2. There we go. This one you'll see that there are grouping symbols, and so we want to undo those first by doing our distribution. I'm going to copy down the left-hand side. We've got negative 2x plus 10 equals positive 15x plus 10. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. So now I'm going to get everything on the same side. And we know that I don't like negative numbers, so I'm going to add 2x to each side first. When I add 2x to each side, I'm left with a positive 10 equals 17x plus 10. Subtract 10 from each side. I get 0 equals 17x. Divide by 17. And x equals 0. Perfect. The next one, again, we have to get rid of our grouping symbols, so we're going to have negative 5 plus 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, plus 4 times 4p is 16p, equals negative 25 plus 4p. Negative 8 plus negative 5 is negative 13, plus 16p equals negative 25 plus 4p. I'm going to get rid of my 4p first. I'm going to subtract 4p from each side, which leaves me with negative 13 plus 12p equaling negative 25. I'm going to add 13 to each side. 12p equals negative 12. Divide by 12. And p equals negative 1. There we go. Next one, we've got grouping symbols again, so I'm going to distribute. 3x minus 9 minus 6x equals negative 2x minus 6. Now the one thing I want you to notice is on this side there's stuff that we can combine right off the bat. 3x minus 6x is negative 3x minus 9 equals negative 2x minus 6. I'm going to start out by adding 3x to each side. So I'm left with negative 9 equals 1x minus 6. I'm going to add 6 to each side. Get negative 3 equals 1x, or x equals negative 3. Here you have to be careful with this one because we have negatives. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. Negative 4 times negative 6n is a positive 24n. So we have 20 plus 6n equals negative 16 plus 24n. I'm going to start out by adding 16 to each side. I don't like negatives. This gets rid of my negative. Equals 24n. Then I'm going to subtract 6n from each side. So 36 equals 18n. Divide by 18. And n equals 2. We've got two sets of grouping symbols this time. 2 times 3x is 6x plus 2 times 2 is 4 minus 5x equals 5. We've got a minus x now and a minus 5. Combine our like terms. Over here we could combine 6x minus 5x, which is 1x plus 4, equals, combine our like terms, we have 5 minus 5, so that's 0, so we're left with a minus x. I'm going to subtract 1x from each side, and we're left with 4 equals negative 2x, divide by negative 2, and negative 2 equals x. More grouping symbols again. 4 times 1, 4. 4 times 2x is 8x minus 5x equals negative 2x minus 3, and a minus would make it a plus 6x. We'll combine our like terms over here. We'll have 4 plus 3x equals a negative 2x plus 6x is going to be 4x minus 3. I'm going to subtract 3x from each side. We're going to be left with 4 equaling 1x minus 3. We'll add 3 to each side. We get 7 equals x. There we go.